What's up, everyone? My name is ZayNews, and this is episode 6 of the ZayNews Podcast, where we talk about all things basketball, whether it's the NBA, college hoops, youth basketball, you name it. If it's about hoops, we talk about it. So if you like the content, make sure you like, subscribe, tell a friend, share the content, and last but not least, ask questions. Drop comments in the chat. Make sure you ask questions. Engage. I want to make sure I engage back with you guys, and we build a nice community. So without further ado, let's get into it, but make sure you like, subscribe, and content where you see fit. All right? Well, look no further than where I want to start off today than obviously All-Star Week. I know it's been a slow week. NBA is off, so All-Star Weekend was this past weekend, and I wanted to make sure I gave my thoughts. There's been quite a few talking points leading into the All-Star game. Obviously, the competitiveness was what was driving the conversations, what was driving dialogue around the NBA. So I wanted to touch on that first. And then lastly, I'm going to talk a little bit about some youth sports topics that I wanted to get into as well. But without further ado, let's talk about All-Star Weekend. Things I think went well, things that I think could be done better, and things they should just maybe scrap entirely, I guess would be a good way to put it. So for starters, right, I think the big to-do was just how do they make the game more competitive? And NBA administration, Adam Silver, those guys, they've been trying to implement new things for the past 4 years and new ways to just make the game more exciting, right? I think 4 or 5 years ago, it started with the draft, and then they switched to the point totals, right, in the fourth quarter. They were doing that for the past couple of years, where they would play 3 quarters. Each quarter would go to a specific charity. The winning team would win a certain amount of money, and that winning money would go to a specific charity. And then that fourth quarter, right, you played for all the marbles. To be honest with you, some of those things worked, right? And there was a lot of success. I think the idea that the All-Star game has not been competitive has been slightly overstated, right? That's not to say that last year was not terrible, and the year before that, I believe, was pretty bad as well. So you had 2 back-to-back years that were pretty bad, but it hasn't been like every year, like the media or fans like to make it seem. There have been some really good years intertwined in there where the games were competitive. It went down to the wire. The fourth quarter got really engaging. And I think in general, that is what is typical. I don't want to say that's what you want, but that is what's been typical, at least for as long as I've watched the All-Star game. Typically, the game has been pretty mild, laid back, not super competitive until the fourth quarter. And if the game is close leading into that, which it usually is, then the fourth quarter is when these players start to really pick up the pace and make it a game, and really try to win it, right? So I think that has stayed true for the most part, but I think the last few years have been a little bit unlucky. And I also think the players definitely have not pushed themselves as hard as they could be, and they have not taken the game as serious as I think the fans and all of us watching would like. So that's not to take away from the fact that the past couple of years have been terrible, and that it seemed like guys just weren't invested, and no one was really willing to grab the bull by the horns and just go for it in these games. So that, I think that is a real talking point, but I do think it's just been slightly overstated, because there have always the first 3 quarters have never been great basketball from my recollection. Now you may have older guys tell you that in the 90s the whole game was competitive. I find that hard to believe, but if you have facts to show me, I'm happy to change my opinion. And when Kobe and those guys were playing, they definitely competed, right? And they definitely played hard for possessions and stuff. But in general, the entirety of the game was not always competitive. But when you got to that fourth quarter, it was pretty consistent that everybody was going to play hard and compete, right? So I say all this to say that I think that talking point was slightly overstated, but not unwarranted altogether, right? Because the past 2 years have been terrible. for lack of a better word, the last 2 years have been terrible. And I don't mind the NBA trying these, even if it comes across as a gimmick. I don't mind the NBA trying new things, because they're leaving no stone unturned. Unlike the players, right? The NBA, executives and stuff, they're leaving no stone unturned. They're trying to find ways to make this game competitive. They're trying to find ways to keep fans interested, because the All-Star game, whether you believe it or not, drives a lot of interest. It creates new fans, and it's a great opportunity to get people to watch the game of basketball. And the players over the past years, we've already addressed, just haven't taken it as serious as it's needed to be taken. And I get it, guys need breaks, all that sort of stuff, but it should feel like it should feel important to be in the All-Star game. And if you don't want to be in the All-Star game, then take your hat out of the ring. Tell them that you got a sore ankle or something like that, and let the guys who want to compete. So that's my thoughts. But in terms of the new formatting, what did I think of that, right? So what did I think of the tournament style? To be honest with you, I'm glad that they tried it. I thought it was unique. I'm glad that they gave it a shot. I don't think it's something that should stick around, to be honest with you. And it's not so much the games themselves, but more so just the way they set everything up. I thought the All-Star game was painfully long in that there was way too many lulls, right? Like between every game, it was like 20 minutes between talking, and it just felt like a lot of added fillers that weren't necessary. And after a while, it just became too much, right? Kevin Hart is great. Shaq, Kenny, Chuck, Ernie, they're great. But there's only so much that you want to hear, right, when you're trying to watch guys compete, and you come to watch guys compete, right? That's what the All-Star game is about. So I would say the games themselves, the way they set it up, was not terrible. But if they were going to continue with this, I personally think things should be a lot more fast-paced. You know what I'm saying? So if you're going to go to 40, go to 40. But initially after that, maybe you have 2 minutes between and you start the next game, right? And maybe by doing it that way, you could actually have more games and it feels longer, because the talking felt longer than the games did. You know what I'm saying? Like the people talking in between the games felt longer than the actual games did. So from that perspective, I'm going to be honest, I didn't love it, but I did like the idea. And more to the point, one thing that I did really like that Damian Lillard spoke on was how they could maybe reformat things, right? So if they do continue with the tournament style, I really like the idea of bringing like the all snub team to the table, right? So the guys who should have been on the All-Star team that maybe missed the mark would have been Trae Young until someone backed out and he got to fill in. Guys like that, right? Guys that should have been on the team who didn't end up making the team. I don't think Tyler Hero made the team. So guys like that, right, who were on the cusp, didn't quite fit in, be that fourth team to play, and then just have more games, right? Maybe you do like I wouldn't be opposed to running it almost like an actual pickup run, right? Where maybe you don't go to 40, maybe you go to 21, and you have like pool play where you play like each other 4, 5, 6 times. Everybody plays each team, and then you get seeding, and then you play a short little tournament. Like, how fun would that be? You know what I'm saying? I think that would be a lot more fun. I think it would keep everybody engaged in the games, right? Because they're happening more fast paced. You're getting after. You cut out all the filler time that comes along with, guys talking for 20 minutes in between each game. I know people want to put on a show and stuff like that, but right, you keep the game to 21. How long is a game like that going to last? It's going to last maybe 10 minutes, right? Realistically, a normal game lasts 2 hours. So you could do 7, 8 games in that time frame. You could run pool play, you could run a tournament, and then have it be like that. So from my perspective, I think if they were going to keep the tournament style, run it like a pickup game. If you could run it like a pickup game, I think it'd be a lot more intriguing. It'd be a lot more fun. It'd keep the players more engaged, because it felt like even the players having to listen to all the talking in between stuff, commercial breaks, all this sort of stuff, just became disinterested, right? So even though you're trying to implement new stuff to keep guys engaged, it ended up almost counteracting what you were trying to do, because there was just so much talking and so much filler time. So excuse me, my one suggestion would be, if you keep the All-Star game in the current format where it's the tournament style, run it like a pickup game, have pool play, have a short tournament. I think more guys will get to play. You'll keep the pacing higher. You guys have guys coming on, coming off. Or even if you run it like king of the court, I don't know how you can necessarily do that and give everybody a fair shake. But if you could find some dynamic like that, I think that would be awesome. So those are my thoughts on the All-Star game format. I thought it came from the right place, right? Like you're doing all that you can. You're leaving no stone unturned. On the executive side of things, eventually a lot of this comes down to the players just needing to compete. And I think based on, what I've heard, what I've seen, maybe the logistics that would go along with trying to make something like what I just proposed work, that the best option will probably be just going back to an East versus West traditional All-Star game. And by doing that, you naturally remove a lot of those the downtime, the filler, celebrities coming onto the court and all this sort of stuff. You have the halftime show where there's a show, right? 10, 15 minutes, and then you're back to the All-Star game. You know what I'm saying? Like that's it. So honestly, all the complaints that I had about the tournament style are resolved by just shifting back to the old traditional style, which I would not be mad at. I think there have been great games. But again, if they do want to keep the tournament style, I would suggest going the route that I just suggested, where they have they run it more like a pickup game and they remove a lot of the filler time. So it just is more basketball, right? We all come to watch basketball. We all enjoy the All-Star weekend, the All-Star game, because of basketball, not because of the celebrities and all the talking. So with that being said, let's stay true to that and let's have more basketball. Whether it is a tournament style, whether it's the traditional game, you take your pick, right? But make sure there's more basketball within that, right? I do think the tournament style could work, but I also think, fans, we tried it. Maybe we go back to what's known, where the bread is buttered, and just maybe do the East versus West traditional game, and do that whole thing. It's been a while since it's been East versus West. You know what I'm saying? It's been quite a long time, because I think at least the past 4-5 years it's been it's been the selecting a captain and then the captain chooses, and then this year, Kenny, Shaq, Candace, and Chuck, they were, the ones who selected the team. So it would be nice to just get back to East versus West. Honestly, I think it's been a long enough time since we've seen that, just to do that again. Chuck, or who had proposed? Someone had proposed a World versus US game. I think that's fine as well. But honestly, I think go back to East versus West. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Go back to East versus West and see how that goes. Maybe going back to a traditional setting will entice the players to compete a little bit more. Who knows? So we shall see. But again, I thought their hearts were in the right place. I'm glad they gave it a go. I was hoping that the Young Bucks would give the OGs in that first round a little bit more of a run for their money. Because I think if you would have saw the game be like a 1-point game, you would have saw some real competition there in those last few possessions of that game. But it just felt like the old guys were always in control of that game, so that never had to really happen. Okay, moving on. So there are my thoughts on the All-Star game. I'll be interested to see what they do next year. I would bet, by the sound of everything, the complaining that guys were doing, and I wanna just touch on this one last point. The changes in the All-Star game are directly due to lack of participation by the players. So players complaining doesn't do a lot for me, if I'm being 1,000% honest with you guys. Draymond Green's comments doesn't do a lot for me. Doesn't move me very much, because you guys are the ones out there, putting your product on display, and you're making a conscious choice to compete or not to compete. I get that all that comes along with it, right? The long seasons, the need to have a break, everything. You know what I'm saying? Again, I think if players don't want to compete, they shouldn't compete, right? They can take their name out of the hat and they can let the next guy up compete, who maybe hasn't made an All-Star game yet, who is right on the cusp. Maybe he's having a equal season to you in terms of production, but your name is bigger, or whatever the case may be. I thought LeBron could have done that this year. I thought Giannis could have probably done that this year, and let other guys take their spots, right, by letting dudes know a little bit earlier. And that's another thing, right? Like, you had some of the biggest stars in the game not playing, and you could have, threw your hat in the ring to give up that spot to let somebody else come play. So the reason that all these changes are being made is because the player's not competing. So just compete, right? Just compete. The game would have never changed. Fans are going to love it, right? Fans are going to love a competitive game with the best players in the world on the court. So if you compete, this isn't a problem. That's the gist of it. You know what I'm saying? So those are my last thoughts. Just wanted to add that point because I didn't touch on it yet. Okay, so moving on to my last point. I'll keep this one short. But this one is more related to youth basketball and the youth basketball scene. So lately I've been talking to a friend local to me who's wanted me to help coach with his AAU program. And I have been wanting to get into coaching. I've been wanting to make basketball more prevalent in my life recently, very strongly, right? I've been feeling this strong desire to get back into basketball because the reality is, for me, basketball has always been my passion. And when I graduated from college and when I stopped pursuing a professional basketball career, I tried to seek out things that I thought could take that passion, right? That I thought maybe I would be equally as invested in. And up to this point, it just hasn't been the case for me, to be 1,000% transparent with you guys. So I say all that to say, recently, I've been really trying to find ways to ingratiate myself back into basketball. You know what I'm saying? That's what this podcast is. The past year, I've been playing so much more pickup. And I always play pickup, but I've been really trying to play more basketball because it's just what I love, right? Regardless of how far removed I am from my competitive playing career, and I was a guy who left no stone unturned when you're talking about work ethic, when you're talking about putting time in. That's one thing I hang my hat on. I know I put the time and the effort in. So I say all that to say, I've been really thinking about getting back into coaching. Now, I'm a dad, 29 years old, about to be 30 here in the next couple months, trying to balance, having two young kids, with where I think my time should be placed, right? And that's been the biggest challenge for me in committing to coaching. But this may be a good opportunity, right? I see, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because I always see people complain, right? You got people in my generation and older generations, they just complain about newer generations, how tough it is to coach them, how much things have changed. And I'd rather be a part of the solution than a part of the problem, or a part of the group that's just kind of complaining about things. So I've really been thinking about it, and I really do want to start putting myself more and more back into the basketball side of things, just because of how much I love it. And I feel like there's a lot that I could give to the game, give to the youth. I've done different youth things in the past, whether it's running camps, whether it's helping kids individually develop their games. And since I've had kids, I've definitely gotten away from that more. So it's been something that's been speaking to me, been contemplating it in my mind. And it's something that I really want to get them back to, because I really want to be part of the solution. I want to develop these kids, give them the game, as they say, try to help them develop in the right way. Focus on the things that are important, right? I think with the rise in social media, there are things that aren't necessarily important to you becoming a better player, you becoming a better person, tend to get put at the forefront, right? Like you got, the trash talking, the flash, and all this stuff has its place in the game, but you definitely get away from the meat and potatoes, the substance of the game that really matters. And I would love to help instill that into, some of the next generations who are coming up. So you guys let me know. What do you think? I definitely feel like I need to get back into coaching, whether it's this year, whether it's next year, whether it's, when my kids get a little bit older and they can actually start coming to practices with me. I don't know. That's what I'm wrestling with. But I want to find a way to be a part of the basketball scene. That's why I'm here expressing my thoughts, and I want to continue to grow that, because I think I have a lot to give, and I think not only can I help these kids, but kids around here can help me as well. Just build upon that passion that I've had for a long time. So this is, for me, this is therapy, right? You get to come out here, you get to talk. So just wanted to share that with you guys. But I will keep you updated if I decide to coach. The AAU season is coming up here shortly in the next month or two, so it's going to be happening pretty quickly if I do. If nothing else, maybe I'll go out there and I'll run a few day camps, help with some individuals or something like that, right? Find a way to give some of my time back. But it's definitely hard when you have two youngsters who need you at home as well. But you got all this knowledge, you got all this work that you put into the game, and it's only right that you pay it forward like the people before you did for you. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, gonna let you guys go. Didn't want this to run too long. As always, make sure to like, make sure to comment, make sure to subscribe, make sure to ask questions. Please ask questions, right? Leave me a comment. I don't think I've gotten a comment in one of my videos yet. I would love to see somebody comment on a video and just let me know what their thoughts are. Let me know where I'm wrong. Let me know where I'm right. Let me know if you agree with me, if you don't agree with me, whatever the case may be. All dialogue is good dialogue. Looking forward to chatting more with you guys, continuing to drop this content. I'm excited for the games to start rolling out again. It's crazy. It's only been like 4 or 5 days, but it feels like everything's just slowed down quite a bit since it's been All-Star Week. And that just lets you know, that gives you a brief little insight into what the summers are like when there's just no basketball. Well, we got WNBA, so let's not disrespect that. But anyway, so I'll let you guys go. Again, like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share this with your friends if you're interested, if you're enjoying the content. And wish you guys the best. We'll talk soon.